Hello, dear ones. Welcome to another conversation on the different shades and shapes of love. The kind of conversation I think we must have more of. As always, before we start, can I invite you to take a moment of centering and breathing with me so we take a pause together. Sit down with your back up. Drop your shoulders. Relax. Close your eyes. Breathe. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Now listen with your heart. Today's shade of love is Turn. Turn was the love that brought me back to that moonlit night on the barren floor when I only had $16 to my name at the age of 38. Only 2 essential items found their way into the Marine Crescent flat that I had moved into 2 weeks prior. A nondescript queen-size bed and a fridge from Gain City paid on installments. Lying on the cheap laminated white floor, wearing barely anything, I was soaked in torrents of tears of desperation, despair, and utter brokenness. The rug of life was pulled off from under me, hurling me into mid-air with a broken heart, a broken bank account, a broken business, and now a broken self. What was left of me? I was CEO no more, a wife no more, a full wallet no more. One by one, the badges of acceptance were stripped off me. A broken tape recorder was playing in my head, recounting what I had lost. Then it happened. Perhaps because I had lain so scarily still for almost 4 hours. The silence of my body finally overcame the chattering mind. The words came like an angel's whispers to me. You only lose what you cling on to. You are not your marriage. You're not your bank balance, and you are not your business. You are all the love that you have given and the love that you have received. It remains a mystery to me why a bright, blinding luminance came upon me as the words faded. But I saw for the first time, in insane clarity, the abundance of what I have. Family, friends, skills, networks. At 39, I lost everything and found me. Whew. This particular moment in my life remains the most significant, a watershed. I still have many questions regarding the light I referred to, but not anymore with why I had to lose everything to find myself. The splendid dapi or dapier, a beautiful shrub, came to mind to pair with this story of lost and found, and my turnaround. It is thought to be extinct in the wild after its habitat was cleared for farmland in Mexico. Thankfully, through the interest and efforts of botanists and scientists, the plant has made a remarkable turnaround of fortune, saving it from the brink of total extinction. A bit like what I went through, in that moment. When I was thinking of who I would like to have a conversation with on this shade of love on loss and turnarounds, I immediately thought of my friend, Zakir Hossain Khokan. I first met Zakir a good number of years ago now, when he attended one of the Hush Teabar community sessions. Zakir was a journalist in Dhaka, Bangladesh, before he left for Singapore to join the construction industry here in 2003. That's a good 18 years ago. He won the first Migrant Workers Poetry Competition and became a strong voice for the migrant community. With that, he was featured in the media, and I remember that very clearly at the Singapore Writers Festival too. He was also a speaker at TEDx Singapore and different platforms, but I think he wanted to do more. And between himself and Monir Ahmod, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, he edited Migrant Tales in 2017, which is an anthology of poems by migrant Bengali poets in Singapore. He also started a migrant writers community called Migrant Writers of Singapore, which I also know very well. And he started, along within Migrant Writers of Singapore, a monthly reading session called Carnival of Poetry, which brings together local and migrant poets together. I really liked this that he said in one of the media interviews that he gave. He told the reporter that poetry is like oxygen for him. So, hello, Zakir.
Hello, Anthea.
Hello. Thank you so much for bravely saying yes to being part of this podcast experiment where we're going to discuss love and to call on love to, as we look at some of the pressing issues of our time.
Okay.
Yeah? Great. So I think let's start with asking you, what made you come to Singapore? And how did you cope, actually, with leaving, the loss of leaving your family behind to come to Singapore 18 years ago, which you were only a young man?
First, thanks for inviting me for this podcast.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for saying yes.
Yeah. And when I came in Singapore, that is 2003, after complete my graduation, National University of Bangladesh.
Mm-hmm.
So that time, actually, from my college life, I start journalism, the freelance journalism. So when I complete graduation, one of my friend who work in Singapore that time, so he actually bring me in Singapore. I born in a middle class family. I am the elder son of the family. So family have demand to support after I complete the graduation. And when my friend proposed to my parents that I can bring Zakir to Singapore. And about Singapore, in Bangladesh, I have one good scenario that Singapore is a dream country. So who will go Singapore, their dream will be successful very, very shortly. So that kind of scenario they have. So when my friends proposed to my parents, they agree, okay. Actually, I was not agreed to come in Singapore.
You didn't want to?
I didn't want to out of my country because I love my country environment. And growing up in Dhaka, capital city, there was the cultural and literature environment where I was growing up.
Right.
And that was very connected to my heart. Another things in my father generation, even my mother generation, no one go abroad to earn money. So this no have in our generation. So that's also not inspire me to come in Singapore, but no choice that time. And my friend already pay agent fee that time. And agent fee was 10,000 Singapore dollar. So that actually stuck me that, okay, now I already stuck in the condition. Then I fly in 2003 in June.
Wow.
I can remember 26 June. When I came in Singapore, the environment when I come out from Changi Airport looks very nice. But that is the very good experience for me. That is the first time I come outside of my country.
Right. I was going to ask you. It was also the first time you traveled out of your country.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I came out of Changi Airport, that make me very nice. But next day when I start my work, that was in Chua Chu Kang, one HDB block, I start work as a cleaner. So you can imagine one freelance journalist who just complete graduation, and when he came in Singapore, the first world Singapore, his dream is he have to get a good job.
Yes.
But he start his job as a cleaner in HDB block. So that was totally shocked for me. And day by day, that become one of mental sickness for me, because I cannot adjust the environment and the job environment and others environment. I cannot adjust myself. So day by day, and a homesickness.
Of course.
I fall in very bad homesickness, especially I miss my father very badly. I am very close to my father. So that was really a very bad moment for me.
Was there a support structure for you here as you were going through this really challenging?
That challenging, that time I tried to call my country, though that time no have in present day like a mobile phone or handphone. That time have a land phone in my neighbor. So I call my neighbor phone, and my parents pick up the phone, and we discuss maybe 10 minutes. Yeah, and that was the very expensive. The phone call that time was very expensive. But I tried to connect with my colleagues.
Right.
Yeah, I try to communicate with them. But there also I face a language barrier.
How
so? Because our language, what we learn in university and college, the English. And Singapore English, what in HDB blog, who are the cleaner and others, that is not actually. I find out later that people calling that is the Singlish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we still do.
Yeah, Singlish. So
there was also a language
barrier.
Yeah,
one kind of language barrier. So what I try to talk with them. They find out that my English is very high English. But what they talk, I cannot receive properly, because they start to talk makan ready or not, go ready or not, sleep ready or not, kamla, gola, that kind of English they use. So I cannot, first time actually I cannot get that what are saying. So that also one kind of mental torture for me to understand.
Right, of course. Wow. So that's so much of, so many mental, challenges. Yeah, that for you to deal with. How did you cope? As a young man, away from your family for the first time in a new country, in a job that you were clearly not expecting as a graduate of a university, to actually be coming here to do. How did you cope with all of that? Do you remember what you did to make sure that you stay mentally healthy and that you could come out of?
I can recall that I switched my job after a few months. I start job as a landscape worker in garden. I can still remember that is the Basun Parot. So there is so many garden.
Right.
So I work there almost 2 years plus. So that environment actually first helped me. The garden environment.
Yeah, because you're with nature and plants and
This is one thing. Another thing, when I came in Singapore, that time I bring so many books with me. So I read book. So that actually helped me a lot. But I try to know about Singapore literature, Singapore art. That was my curious. What is Singapore art? What is the Singapore literature, especially poetry?
Yeah, which is your love, is your oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every day I bought one Straits Times 60 cents, and I try to find that Singapore art, Singapore literature, especially poetry. I did that few months, like 4 or 5 months. I could not find single poem on that newspaper. Then I realized Singapore is a poetry-free country, art-free country, literature-free country. Singaporean meaning they don't like arts, they don't like poem. That come in my mind,
Zakir, when you said that, I feel the gut punch, like you just said that we are poetry-free country, art-free country, literature-free country. Oh no!
That's come in my mind.
Sure. No, I can imagine. I mean, I'm sure that's what you see, because this is the first time and you're thinking this is the national paper. Yeah. And the national paper reflects the culture, reflects what the country is about, what the society is about, right? Yeah. Okay. And then how? No oxygen for you then, because you were looking for poetry, which is your oxygen.
Yeah. Luckily, that time I meet some Bangladeshi migrant workers who are working shipyard, construction, landscape, and other area. So luckily, I meet some of friends who like to singing, who like to write, and especially read. So I meet some of the friends in Singapore near the Lembu Road, the Mustafa Center there. That time have so many green field. Now all are the HDB there. Yeah. So that time we meet every Sunday. Sunday also we work until 5 o'clock. So after 5 o'clock from work side, we direct go to there on that field. And we meet together and we share our poetry, our story. And some of our friends, and especially me, I bring some books and distribute to them. And from that book, they read. And after that, we start a workshop that what is the difference of article and report and feature. How is the difference between these things? So what is the structure of the poem and short stories? So we discuss this and we do a lot of workshop on that green field, on the grass field.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And
you have a name for this group, right? What is it called?
We put that name in Bengali is Amra Khojana. In English, in English is we are.
We are. That's exactly right. I remember that. Yeah.
So from that we are or Amra Khojana, you can find this name with my Facebook name and Instagram name. Still, I put that Amra Khojana Zakir. So I love that name because that is the first initiative in Singapore. So this way, actually, we growing up together. We learn together. And this helped me to come out from the mental sickness. That's why I say poetry actually saved my life. Saved my life, poetry. So that's why I say poetry is oxygen for me.
That is so beautiful, Zakir, because I always have been asked, because actually I didn't write in that chapter, but when I was feeling so desperate and ashamed, there was a moment where I thought about the distance between my 18th floor apartment and the ground. Yes. And I would say that what saved me, you said poetry saved you. What saved me was actually silence, which is also why I started Hush Teabar.
So nice. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think it's amazing how that connection that I'm feeling when you said that. It got me out, obviously, also of the mental despair, right? Of my depression.
Yeah. True.
Wow. And then you went on, actually. So we talked about the loss. We both have suffered losses, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you had to leave your family behind, and the circumstances under which that you were actually made to come over to Singapore were clearly, beyond your control, a little bit like what I had to go through. But you turn around. You turn around. You turn around with poetry.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it wasn't just poetry, Zakir. I really want to acknowledge how amazing and how incredibly, inspiring to hear you. If you can't find poetry, you're gonna create this poetry club, this poetry community, this literature.
Yeah.
And since then, you've started many initiatives, actually. One of it is, and I love this one, I love the name too, but I love what you do. It's called One Bag, One Book, right? This project that you started is to encourage other migrant workers to read more. And I think it's a simple idea. You wanted them to adopt a habit of carrying a book in their bag wherever they go, right? And that they will at least read one page from the book every day.
Yeah,
this is beautiful. And over the years, you have, if I understand from what I got, you have bought over 2,000 books with your own money.
Yeah.
and also received some donations, right? For books in English. Is that correct?
Yes, very later. But myself, I start one bag, one book from the 200 book.
Yeah.
What I bought from Bangladesh. That is all the Bengali book. In Bangladesh, there have one book fair, 1 month long book fair, and that called Ekushe Book Fair. So that was very connected with me because this is start because of the language, the Ekushe Book Fair, and Ekushe is 21st. Bengali is Ekushe, in English is 21st.
21st.
So in 1952, 21st February, many students of Dhaka University, they saved their life for language.
Oh, wow.
We celebrate every year 21st February as International Mother Language Day, and UNESCO approved that. So we celebrate this every year now. But this is long story, a struggling story, and Bangladesh or Bengali, this actually come from language.
Wow,
Yes.
that's powerful.
Yeah.
And so you went back to bring some books over, but you also received donation of books in English. So you were not just looking after your fellow Bangladeshi brothers, you are also wanting to encourage your fellow migrant brothers and colleagues and co-workers who speak in Tamil, Chinese, Bahasa Indonesia, right? Because the books are not just Bengali books, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We start for a Bangladeshi migrant worker, and after a few months, I find out other nationalities migrant workers, like who are come from India.
Right.
They ask me, Zakir, you are giving free book Bangladeshi brothers, why not us?
Right. So that's how it got started, and that's why that's why the donations came.
Yeah.
And then these are given to the workers free of charge, aren't they? The books, right,
Yes.
right. And of course, then after that, you included the other brothers too.
Yeah, brothers, not only brothers, who are the
as well.
domestic helpers in Singapore.
Correct.
Who are come from Philippines, Indonesia, Myanmar.
Right.
So they also asking their language book. So especially I try to connect locals. So they donate their book, and we distribute dorm to dorm. Even we distribute where Sunday domestic helper and migrant workers meet together, like Little India area, Lucky Plaza area, City Plaza. So where they meet together. So we go there, we carry book, and we go there and we talk to them, we manage them, then we distribute that book to them. This way we start this journey. Even we go some dorm. Every Sunday we go a few dorm, and we start. First time actually they are reject. No, free book also we do want to take. That kind of.
How did you then convince those that immediately say no, given the, given their circumstances and the way they think about, we're here to work, we got time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That is their mindset.
Correct. How did you then? How do you then respond to that?
Okay, when someone reject, because I face this problem, I face this challenge, and I come over this challenge. That when I offer book and they reject, some are reject politely, some are reject bit different way.
Right.
So I say, okay, you don't want to take book, no problem. Can we talk something? Then we start to talk. Hey, you are coming from where? Some people say from India, Tamil Nadu. Some people say from Thailand. Some people say from Bangladesh. So we start to talk about their country. When you come here, so how is your education level in your country? Are you doing any course in Singapore or not? So this kind of conversation we do 2, 3, 4 minutes. After I explain more that, hey, we start this one bag, one book. We give free book to encourage people or
Yeah.
encourage migrant community to bring their reading habit. And we give a book, any kind of book, like a literature or like a technical things. We collect a book and we give
it's not only one kind of book. It's
not
any
one
kind of book.
Any kind of, even motivational books.
Yes.
Even now I find out people are demanding a cooking book.
Right. Yes.
So that kind of things actually I explain to them. Hey, other friends
such a powerful idea.
Yeah, other people taking this way. You maybe can take at least one book. If you don't like, next week we will come back. You can return us.
Yeah, because this whole thing about one bag, one book is actually a book exchange program, right? So I think it's such a powerful idea, Zakir. Just kudos to you. I think that's just incredibly inspiring.
And this helped a lot in this pandemic.
Yes, and also because that has poetry saved you, as you said, right? But by what you're doing, it's also a way of you supporting the mental health of your fellow migrant, brothers and sisters, right?
Yes.
So, I was going to talk a little bit about the mental health aspect of it because we both have experienced it, right? So it's okay for us to openly talk about this so that other people might and the listeners would understand what that means. So I would like to go a little bit into how did it feel for you? Because earlier you talked about you had the mental sickness, it was mental torture. And it was challenging for you, right? I would love to ask you to share, how did you feel? What were the symptoms? You already talked about how you cope, but I thought it might be helpful if we also talk about, the experience of actually feeling so mentally challenged. For me, I remember just feeling like I was drowning, actually. Right? I felt like I was going into a bit of a downward spiral. It was a very deep, dark place, which obviously, like I said, ended with me thinking about, maybe even ending it all. I remember a lot of pain that I was feeling, even to a point of, at one time, I even felt like I was feeling physical pain. Not just emotional pain. And so for me personally, I feel like what I got from this learning and this experience is that mental health is really a continuum, right? That it's not only something that affects a certain type of people or certain segments of society.
Yeah.
Actually, every one of us, right? You as a graduate, a journalist, me being very successful in the corporate world, or someone who's working class, we all can actually be subjected to mental health challenge.
Yeah.
So it's for me, I think it's a continuum, and I think it's important to talk about that so that people would have empathy when someone is actually dealing with mental health challenge, instead of thinking that person is weak or vulnerable, right? What's your experience with mental health, given the experience? And also share a little bit with us of the encounter you had, because you also, unfortunately, was infected with COVID-19 last year.
That was very bad.
Share that experience and also how that affected your mental health and your well-being.
Well, actually, on first stage, I find out myself a lot of emotional connect with my home when I abroad, and that time not like today we can call video call now, but that time we write letter to our parents. Not only that, we sometime we take photo, and that is the Kodak film.
And you have to go
develop in Little India. Then after develop, we put in blood and send our country. My parents see that photo and they become happy that my son is very good in Singapore because we take photo in front of Malayan and other nice area. We don't want to show our odd job. That what we do. Even
and where you live. And
where I am live. So we don't want to share that kind of scenery to our family. We always share good things that we are very nice, very good, this kind of things. And that also one of a challenge for me that time emotionally, that actually where I living, that living condition and the agent fee system and food, this and the payment, this actually everything, even the stress of workload, everything actually I cannot share with my family. Even if I share with surrounding my friends and colleagues, they also facing same issue.
Right.
So we no have a place to share. We no have person surrounding to share these things. That's why I fall mental sickness very badly that time. So some symptom, I find out that sometime I find myself giddy, going to fall down, that kind of things, and physically feeling very weak. Also sometimes cannot take breath properly, and I cry so many nights.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
Yeah. So for relief that stress, and sometime I go outside of the city and shout to the air. So that how I learned my university, that how to reduce the stress. So that actually helped me, and I know the way that how to reduce the stress and mental sickness. But still day by day my mental sickness going very worse and very bad, and I find out later that I cannot remember so many things.
Yes, that's another
I lost memory.
That's right.
So that actually make me I don't know how to explain by what, that make me very scary. Very scary. What's happening with me?
So I appreciate that you shared a little bit of the symptoms and how you cope, because I hope listeners out there would also. For me, losing sleep was also another symptom, right? Not being able to sleep well was another. Now let's come back to something a little bit more cheerful. So what I've heard from you in this conversation so far, Zakir, you've just been, such an inspiring person, and the work that you did, right? So although you had lost a lot, I'm sure, coming here, you had dreams when you graduated from National University in Bangladesh. You lost so much coming here. Yet, as I'm listening to you, sharing what you've done, you have not just done so much, but I'm sure you've also felt so much that you've gained from having been here in Singapore for 18 years, right? In how, you have actually been able to help so many, to bring literature and poetry to the migrant community and created this whole new way of engaging with our migrant brothers and sisters. What do you think now, if you look back, is your purpose for coming over to Singapore?
I come here to support my family financially. Another things in my journey, I try to bring my migrant community, migrant worker community who came from some other country, third world, like Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, even Myanmar, and other countries like Indonesia, Philippines. Together we start one organization. That organization name is Migrant Writers of Singapore. And from that Migrant Writers of Singapore, we start a lot of initiative. And recently we did one mental health well-being festival.
That's right.
This is the first mental health well-being festival happened in Singapore. That also one one surprise for me that this is first a migrant. This is the first mental health well-being festival we are done in Singapore. And mental health, this is not only for migrants.
Of course. Yeah.
Mental health for everyone. And in the society, I find out that people don't want to open about mental health. This type of taboo have in society, even this Singapore.
Of course. Yes, very much so.
So why we start this festival, Mental Health and Wellbeing Festival, we want to bring up to the people that you don't feel shy to share that you are fall in mental sickness. You don't feel shy. You don't escape. You have to open. You have to share. So I find out after that festival, lot of locals, migrant community actually appreciate our works, what we did.
Yes.
And from Migrant Writers of Singapore also we did Carnival of Poetry. Every month, local and migrants, they meet together as per theme. They share their poetry. Even 27th June also we have our upcoming session. Also we have a storytelling session where local and migrant, they come together and they share their story. A storytelling session title is Open Border. So that is awesome things doing our team. And we empowering our migrant community. They are become organizer now. They organize Carnival of Poetry, Open Border, blood donation drive. Then poetry and photography work together with NUS student and other university student. They come together with migrant and the domestic helper. They work together.
Amazing. Do you believe that when we are struggling so hard, it's also when our life is about to turn? You know, because it felt like what drove you to start this whole series of things from, you know, having that little circle in the open field talking about poetry, Amrana Kazuna, to now, you know, one bag, one book, Migrant Writers. Do you think that actually when we struggle, if we are brave enough to, you know, work through the struggle, it's also when our life turns?
This actually, we need support from surrounding.
Yeah.
That is very important. We need support surrounding. And another things, understanding. That's why I say always that we are living in Singapore as a migrant workers, but design or in a society that we are not in Singapore, we are outside of Singapore.
Yeah.
So from Migrant Writers of Singapore, from One Bag One Book, even from Migrant Worker Photography Festival, we try to connect with local by arts, by literature. And that is important for everyone, for make a healthy community, for make a healthy city like Singapore. So connection with human being.
Yes.
There are no need to find out who are local or migrant. We can connect together as artists.
Yes.
We can connect together as a poet, as a photographer, as a filmmaker. So we can connect this way. And we can make Singapore is a proud Singapore more. And when locals who are Singaporean, when they will sing their national anthem, Mazula Singapura, they can find that this Singapore also built by migrants.
Yes,
they are also part of the community.
Of course.
They are part of the community. So for this kind of border that showing in society that migrants are not part of the society. So by this artwork, what we doing, by this literature work, by this publishing work or film or blood donation or festivals, what we doing, even book fair. So what we doing, everything actually focusing two things mainly. One thing is mental health.
Yeah.
Another thing is Singapore make a healthy city. So how to make healthy city together? We have to come closer together.
And then inclusively.
Inclusively.
Yes.
So that will be make example for other country can take example from Singapore, that hey, Singapore really doing very well together with migrants and locals. They make a bonding, they make a breeze by literature, by art. And I find out art and literature, film, blood donation drive, photography, this all is a common platform where people not find out you are migrant or local.
Yes, it does not matter.
That
right?
does not
It does
matter.
not matter. Yes, that's really powerful, and I think you've just answered the question I wanted to finish to wrap up this conversation with. I was going to ask you, what's your dream, Zakir? But you just shared that's your dream.
Yes, that is dream.
That is your dream to have Singapore as the country that's going to show the world, how the migrant community and the locals are one.
Yes.
Right? That it is we are not separated, and you are looking to use art.
Yeah.
And your oxygen, poetry as well, obviously, to bring us together. What are you grateful for right now?
I am grateful that now I have a lot of local friends.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's how I find, and the local friends trust me, believe me, love me.
Of course we do. We love you. We trust you. Look at what you have been. How you have been so loving of us.
That's I find out that really that's I gain in Singapore. That a lot of people love me. What is already proved in COVID time, when I fall in sick, I was in hospital. A lot of local friends and who are local friends, but that they are Singaporean, but they immigrant other country. They also pray for me from there. Not so in this pandemic time, I find out we are become a family,
that's beautiful.
they receive me as a family member. How they pray for me, that's I gain. People love.
Zakir, that's such a beautiful way to wrap up our conversation. What a way to end this, just such an inspiring conversation, and just so much love, which is really what this podcast series is about, right? The love between people. All right. So as thank you so much, Zakir, for coming.
Thank
be
you
part
for
of this
inviting
conversation. We always finish our podcast with sharing some resources to our listeners. Most of you have heard Zakir share some of the initiatives that he initiated. Remember that he mentioned Migrant Writers of Singapore. That's the One Bag, One Book initiative. There's also the Migrant Workers Photography Festival. The second edition is actually happening in September this year.
Yeah.
And there's also the Migrant Library Singapore. Welcome in My Backyard is another group which I'm involved with as well, which is also doing what Zakir talked about. We're trying to bring locals and the migrant community together. There are other resources. Many of you may have heard of them. TWC2, Home, Health Serve, if you want to, support our migrant community. And there's a list of mental health resources which we have shared in other episodes as well. So with that, as always, we're going to leave you with an invitation from this chapter, this shade. How different would your life be if you focus on what you have instead of what you don't have? What is your have list?